Good morning. Good morning. My name is Kerry Lay. I use the pronouns he, him. I am a member of the Board of Trustees, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick. Deep breath. UUCB is located on the ancestral homelands of the Wabanaki people, who have deep, enduring, and ongoing relationships with Brunswick's lands and waterways. We acknowledge the painful legacy of the region's colonial history and commit to better understanding it. We will work to recognize and welcome the presence and concerns of the Wabanaki, whose people and culture live within and contribute to the vitality of this community we share. Today's date is October 19th, and we have a special guest minister who I am going to allow Kathy Cyrus to introduce since she knows her much better. Our music today is performed by Will Bristol and our own UUCB choir. If you are new or visiting today and would like more information about our congregation, please stop at the visitors table in the fellowship hall. The folks there would be happy to answer any of your questions. And I don't have my phone on me, so I can't display it as a reminder, but please silence your mobile devices. And once again, welcome. We're glad you're all here.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Cyrus. I use pronouns she and her, and I'm a member of the UUCB Working for Justice Wabanaki Awareness Focus Group. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome Miku Paul to our service this morning. If you've read Miku's brief bio in today's order of service, you know that she was raised traditionally in the Penobscot community and is enrolled at Kings Clear First Nations in New Brunswick, Canada. She holds a BA in Human Development and Communication and an FFA in Creative Writing from Stone Coast at the University of Southern Maine. Miku is a poet, artist, storyteller, musician, educator, and more, and uses her creativity, sensitivity, and energy to serve as consultant and hands-on participant in projects across Maine, partnering with groups like Portland Public Schools, Atlantic Black Box, Pajebscot Portage Mapping Project, Mid-Coast Indigenous Awareness Group, and Brunswick Topsom Land Trust, to name only a few. She works tirelessly to bring Wabanaki history and culture into wider community awareness and is passionate about conservation and river justice. She is currently bringing valuable knowledge and wisdom to efforts by the local group Mawilkatibin to introduce more intentional teaching of Wabanaki curriculum into public schools in Brunswick, Bath, and Topsom. In addition to her wider community work, Miku is a devoted family member who lives with her husband in Portland, where she is an active gardener and, I believe, still a keeper of chickens. I dare to count her my patient and forgiving mentor and friend. Miku has generously agreed to stay briefly following the service to talk with folks and answer questions about her work. You will find her in the front of the sanctuary, where we will also be sure she has a cup of tea. Welcome, Miku. We're pleased and honored to have you with us this morning.
Wuliwan, Ngichi Newiskaman, Kamilinen, Abspin Biskak Pamasawagan, naga uliwans kit komik, gijikugawasan, milinene duji ulina guakeligotiek. Thank you, Creator, for giving us another day of life and for giving us such a beautiful place to live.
All is to be found inside of me, questioning, gathering the sound and the silence, listening. Spirit unbound in the mystery, wondering. Follow the sound. Feet upon the ground, the rhythm calling me, deepening. Follow the sound. All is to be found inside of me, questioning. Follow the sound. Gathering the sound and the silence, listening. Follow the sound. Spirit unbound in the mystery, wondering. I'm moving with the earth.
I'd like to invite everyone to rise in body or in spirit as we join in on a welcoming song that Miku will now lead us in. Please rise in body or in spirit as you're able.
Aliyah, Aliyah Kwanu Day. 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 Kwanu Day, Kwanu Day, Kwanu Day, Kwanu Day, Kwanu Day, Kwanu Guanu de, 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 Guanu de. Hey, hey, muasu, muasu. Hey, hey, muasun, muasun.
Good morning. My name is Tobin Kuni Kalnan, and I use the pronouns he and they, and I serve as your lifelong spiritual formation director. Now is the time in the service when I would like to call forward our children and youth. So if you would like to come up and share a story with me, now is the time to come on forward. And you can come if it's your first time here, if it's your 1,000,000th time here, and anywhere in between. And if you are new here and you want to bring your adult, or if you've been here 1,000 times, you want to bring your adult, you are welcome to do so. Good morning. Hi, everyone. Hi, Jocelyn. Hi, Perry. Hi, Ben. Hi, Fiona. You look fantastic. Well put. Very well put. Good morning, Noah. Hi, Charlie. Hi. Does anybody want to come a little bit closer on the rug? All right, awesome. So I have a great story for you today that was recommended by Miku, and I'm so glad it was recommended because I didn't know this story, and it's a great one. But first, I want to talk about, in this book, there are tons of different animals. And I was recently on a trip. I went to a bunch of places. I went to Burlington, Vermont, and then I went to the Adirondack Mountains in New York, and then I went to the Finger Lake regions in New York, and then I went to Niagara Falls. And one of the things that we do when we travel in my family is we keep what we call a critter count. So that's every animal we see along the way. And I want to tell you, I saw 8 deer, 2 foxes, 1 black squirrel. What else did I see? Oh, 13 turkeys. I saw 13 turkeys, 1 red-tailed hawk. And I didn't see it this time, but I was looking for it. In the Adirondack Mountains where we go, there's a bald eagle that lives by the lake. He wasn't there this time, but I definitely looked for him. I'm sure I'm forgetting at least, 4 blue jays. And then I think there's probably like a whole bunch more, but I don't have the list. How many of you see animals on a regular day? Huh? I don't know your name. What's your name? What kind of animals do you see on a regular basis? You see monkeys on a regular basis? You live in Africa? Very cool. You saw 3 turkeys? That's a lot of turkeys. How about you?
last night, when we were coming back from the fall fest, we saw one baby fox.
You saw a baby fox last night? Wow, very cool.
Tiny. It was going back and forth from the road.
Oh, it was tiny and it was running back and forth from the road. Did it get to the other side?
Yeah.
Awesome.
It just went back and then back.
Fiona, how about you?
I saw a fox running across the highway.
You saw a fox running across the highway. I saw a rainbow cheetah this morning, but we won't talk about that yet. That was you. Yeah. Holden, what kind of animals do you see regularly? Cats and dogs. Anybody else? Ben? You see a lot of puppies and kittens because you fostered them. Yeah. You brought a bunch of kittens a couple weeks ago, which I thank you for personally. Yeah, so we see animals. Animals are in our lives all the time. How often do you remember to be super grateful for animals? Ben? When your alarm clock cat wakes you up at 6:30. All right. Holden, did you have a hand up? How often do you remember to be grateful for animals? When you wake up and see your dog? How about when you wake up and you hear the birds singing? That's one of my favorite things. It used to not be, because I used to really like to sleep late. How about you?
When my very early waking dog wakes me up at about 5 o'clock in the morning.
When your very early rising dog wakes you up at 5 o'clock in the morning. All right, so I'm going to go into our story. This story is by Alan Sakabason, who is a Passamaquoddy storyteller, and it's illustrated by Rebecca Ray. Now, in this book, it's about a family that's moving. So in the Passamaquoddy tradition, in the past, they would move to kind of go where they could live off the land when the seasons changed. So this is a story about winter coming and then making a move. Do you have a... You know this book? You read it at school? All right, don't give any spoilers to anybody, okay? All right. Winter had arrived. Jutam worked for days preparing for the trip north with his family. He took apart their house near the shore and stacked the cedar logs on the big bobsled. Everyone helped. They packed the family sled with its tools and with the meats and fish and vegetables harvested during the summer, when days were long. It was loaded to the very top with precious food, but Jutam made sure there was room for his children to ride back. Everyone dressed in warm sealskin clothes for the long trip. It was time to go to their winter home in the deep woods. The horses pulled the sled slowly through the new snow. Zusap was not yet walking, but he was a strong baby, born in the spring. He rode on the sled with the other children. As the shadows grew long, the older children slept, but then little Zusap stood up and tumbled off the sled. Oh, how Zusap cried. His voice filled the sky. The animals of the forest were alerted by his crying. First to come were the beaver. They knew they had to keep him warm and dry, so they put their tails together and cradled Zusap. Zusap still cried, so the moose came. Then the bear, the caribou, and the deer. Then the fox and the wolf came too, and all the big animals lay together in a circle. Then other smaller animals came, the raccoons, porcupines, rabbits, weasels, and a mink. The muskrat and otter and the squirrels and mice came too. They gathered and filled in the cracks between the big animals. At sunset, the owl came. Then the raven, crow, jay, duck, and a goose gathered to perch on top. Even a seagull came. Last came the great bald eagle, who spread her wings over the other birds and animals. Zusap stayed warm. When Jutam arrived at his winter home, he knew something was very wrong. Zusap was missing. Jutam quickly lit a fire for his family and got them settled. Then he turned back to the trail to find his son. He traveled through the woods all night, and just at sunrise, he came to a big mound of snow. Resting on top was the great bald eagle. I knew you would come back for Zusap, the eagle said. Jutam looked down and saw his son safely sleeping in a great pile of warm animals. Jutam thanked the animals one by one. Then he took Zusap in his strong arms and went back to the family. When they arrived that evening, there was feasting and dancing. What a celebration. What'd you all think of this one? Oh, I see like 7 thumbs up. Oh my gosh, now we're at like 10. I'm glad you liked this book. Thank you so much for the recommendation. Now is a time when we will be sung out to our meeting spaces. Will you all lead us in We Will Keep a Place for You?
Good morning. I'm going to start with concerns. Suzanne and Pam are keeping their dear friend Laura in their thoughts. She's 94 years old and was just diagnosed with bladder cancer. She was heartened to know the country took part in rallies yesterday and expressed a wish that she would love to vote in the next election. She came to this country as a German war refugee after World War II. Robin Brooks is holding her cousin Bonnie close after hearing that her husband of almost 52 years passed away suddenly on October 17th. Please join her in remembering Michael McNamara, a vibrant spirit. Excuse me. For Joyce, the beautiful, peaceful outpouring of people across Maine and the U.S. yesterday, standing up for justice, democracy, and love, and saying no to hatred. And for me, the final joy is I'm just glad to be here with you. If you are not attending in-person services and would like a joy or concern read from the pulpit, you may send an email to joys-and-concerns@uubrunswick.org. If you would like to talk with one of us after the service, look for the light blue. Some of us have light blue ribbons. Look for the light blue ribbon on our name tags. Our names are also in the order of worship. We would be happy to meet with you here or meet with you later. We offer a listening ear and our presence.
Good morning. I'm Miku Paul, and my pronouns are she and hers. It's time for the responsive prayer, which I believe you all have. So I will begin. Emiya wagan gaji gugawasan. Nagagichi niweskimon. Gamachwaliwan ejiwaligiskak. Gamachna nulasur weltumutiban eleyud pejibrut bzidewen. Nulira hasultiban eligazelmod naga walankewod bzide gnijanok. Wujukamine wajigizi wujukem mugut. Jukobanaki naga psida wen damas gijinawag. Naga gulita benuwinan wajigizi wulidak kodiku. Naga nuijukamanin bezide bamausu winawok. Naga psida gek bamausu wig. Gapi de psida gek bamausu kibon. Jilukon sizog. Giji wuli wan na eli miliek pamausu wogan bem giskok. Gamach nulasu wel tumultiban. Nidleich askum you wuli wan.
Please join me in singing. May I be light in you. May you be light in me. Into our hearts, into our souls, let love abide. May I be love in you. May you be loving me from this place out to the world for all time. Let's do that one more time. May and may it be so.
The short film you're about to see is something I created with a professor, filmmaker at UMaine Farmington. I always try to leverage my creative work in service of environmentalism and community inclusion. And this film is 4.5 minutes. It's about climate change. It includes whale sinology, my language, an original score, and imagery from Greenland from a trip that I took a couple of years back.
When the whale spoke, there was no answer but the howling of the hurricane, spinning above the great blue, collecting itself to shape water into sky lakes that walked the land like a righteous Templar with singular intent. The whale rose to watch the wind snatch waters as raiment, gather themselves into being, incarna, come to deliver a message. When the whale spoke, she murmured rising exaltations of truth in death, eddies of blurred terror, words indecipherable until slow music that spiraled in low decibels. She sang blue notes, wisdom through the great waters, sounding, vortex rising, calling. Can you hear this voice, universe of moon and tide that calls to its primordial self? Let me explain, she said. Time has no name here, where sunlight shelters floating plankton, half-life sacrifice, food for so many, my kin and yours, home, the world's breath, strangled in ghost nets. Begin again. The nod and pull, a lullaby climbs into sky, tumbles back to our front door, where strangers peer as we birth our children. We try to stay alive. Your future, our future, obstructed paths you wander without purpose. When the whale spoke, she sighed in long curls of treble that quivered on darkened currents, heaving past the melting glaciers. I am the ancient witness. I carry the story of us all into another story and another, that the great chain of life continues. Know this, what you choose to abandon, seduced by distraction, this brief signal, our human span, this is the storm that does not end, the distorted pride we pretend to believe in, the fate that will leave us all grieving. Satisfied, the whale returned to the depth and whispered to the fishes, to the sea turtles and dolphins, to the sharks and seals and walruses and octopi, the eels and the orcas and all her relations. It is beginning, the whale said. The end is beginning.
And when I rise, let me rise like a bird joyfully. And when I fall, let me fall like a leaf gracefully, without regret.
The earth is our great mother. Let us love each other. Gilhun jutski komikigum. Gesel multikinkil. Woli spasriu, woli gis good friends, good morning. It's a beautiful day. You will notice that the word woolly is in both the phrases I just spoke to you in a language thousands of years old, a language that developed among Wabanaki peoples living in close relationship with Skitkomik, the Great Mother. This word has multiple meanings, both as a verb and an adjective, and many iterations. But put most simply, it means good. It's also used and useful to remember that for Wabanaki, good is not a word used in a binary sense, either or in opposition to bad. There's space for understanding, space for mistakes as teachings, when using the word good. It's a path that we strive to stay on as our human family walks the spiral between what has been and what will be, the now. Possibility lies there in that journey that we might call life. And we often refer to this as walking in a good, right way. What might it mean to walk in a good, right way for an individual or a community or a nation? To walk is to move, to be active, and this implies both a journey and a specific approach to that journey. Every single one of us is on this journey, and we have both a task and an opportunity to co-create the world we all must share together. This morning is a point in time when we are in one another's company to reflect on how we might walk in a good, right way. A moment that acknowledges our shared humanity and frailties and celebrates our strengths in collaborating for a better, kinder, safer world, respecting the sanctity of all life, not just the life we have been given. I invite you all today to consider this gift of life and the many, many ways each of us can choose a path that encompasses love, awareness of Skid Comique and all her children, and how we might honor and protect our beautiful home for ourselves, our neighbors, our community, and the future generations to come, even the world over. Many of us may doubt our ability to make change or the depth of our individual impact on the world. It's natural to feel this way. But remember, the mother provides for all birds. She does not concern herself with a single bird that may or may not survive the migration journey, or the single bird that does not find a mate in spring. She simply continues, and in that continuing, in that balance, birds survive and maintain their place in the great web of life that includes our human family. Some things are impossible to measure in a reductive way. We must learn to live with that uncertainty, knowing that we have contributed to supporting the great joy and mystery of life on earth by walking in a good, right way. Some may call this faith, but I have also read in the Bible that faith without works is dead. A strong word, dead, especially for Wenooch non-Indigenous folks. There's a tendency for many to think of death as a reckoning moment when one may be judged before getting sent to one location or another, according to one's life choices. This perspective sets up an idea that one lives a particular way in order to ensure eventual arrival to some place called paradise. While it is common for some Indigenous communities to practice a blend of some form of Christianity and Native American spiritual beliefs, many of us do not view the spirit realm as something totally cut off from our existence. My view, in the context of ceremony, is that there is great wisdom, guidance, and solace in consulting our ancestors on matters of importance about how I live my life, what might be right, good actions in this corporeal realm. Can you imagine this place, this beautiful place, as our paradise right here, this incredible home where we are given the gift of a sensory experience in order to learn what it means to be human, what it means to love, enacting that energy in support of all living things and not just ourselves. Consider, if we think of something deceased as something that no longer moves through this corporeal world as such, it cannot walk in a good right way, we might think of something deceased then as something no longer active in a loving interface with the mother and all her miraculous systems and all her children who each play a part in this beautiful place we call home. Interestingly, Skidkomik, the Great Mother, is continuously active. Even when members of the web of life are no longer alive in one sense, they continue to actively support her natural systems through the process of breaking down into smaller and smaller biological components that in turn connect to emerging life. Every atom, every cell, every fungi and insect and mammal, tree nation, the four-leggeds and the winged ones and the water dwellers all have their place in Skidkomik's family. At some point, as man lives out his day, we have forgotten this essential truth. We cannot harm her without harming ourselves. So I ask each of you today not only to keep your faith, but make it faith in action. I'm reminded of the African saying, when you pray, move your feet. When I consider how I was raised, with a traditional upbringing by my Wolastoqey grandfather, attuned to the seasons, engaging in cultural practices that also reinforced cultural values, I feel an enormous gratitude to him and also to Skidkomik, who provides every human being with a free education should they choose to undertake it. I learned as much on the Penobscot River and on the river islands and in the forests and the coastal places as I learned in public school. My mother thankfully understood that this education was vital, just as vital as the formal and often restrictive education I received in classrooms in Old Town. This traditional learning was the formation of my relationship to the mother and natural systems. And these experiences not only became the foundation, but the framework for my values. The learning included practical experiences that honed my observation skills, empowered me to problem solve, respect concepts of balance and adaptation, and formed the basis of my deep, loving connection to nature. For generations now, we've been slowly losing our connection to the mother. Research shows that our children are not interfacing with nature, and many are losing that sense of wonder and respect that comes from being in relationship to Skidkomik. When that connection is eroded, it is far easier to ignore the mother's clear signals that all is not well. It becomes easier to distract ourselves with tech and materialism and forget that we exist as part of a planet-wide interconnected system that supports all life. Let's pause here for a moment, and I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for 90 seconds and consider your own relationship to what Wenooch people call nature. What is your own relationship to the mother? Is it for extraction of resources? Or is it for recreation? Is it for solace? What might be the last time you remember engaging in stewardship of Mother Earth. Now, consider what you have offered in return for all that she gives every single day. Our breath, the joy of warm sun on our skin, the water that keeps us alive, the food that keeps our human vessels nourished, the materials that become our clothing, our homes, all the objects we like to use, the beauty of dawn, of a sunset. When we remind ourselves of all these incredible gifts, let us also remind ourselves from whence they come and consider how we might honor the Mother through respect and works that acknowledge the value of all life on our planet. We must acknowledge some hard truths about this place we call home. Consider, for example, the fact that a good number of Maine's waterways are polluted and will never fully recover. Most of these particular places have been damaged by industry and dams. The American eel population in Maine waterways has collapsed. Sea-run fish populations have dropped precipitously. Health guidelines for consumption of freshwater fish from inland waters recommends pregnant and nursing women eat none. Adults can safely eat one per month. Brook trout and salmon are a bit safer, but nowhere near safe at the level of consumption for indigenous peoples who rely on them for subsistence fishing. Why is this the case? Mercury, dioxins, PCBs, and PFAS are in the food chain. These pollutants have had a disproportionate impact on Wabanaki peoples. Maine is rich in waters and still has places that are classified AA, which is the highest standard, typically headwaters. It supports life, having enough oxygen and healthy habitat for aquatic organisms to thrive. And yet, much of the time, the argument for protecting Maine waters is centered on industry and recreation, not on the rights to safe food sources or the rights of the mother and her relations. The waters alone could keep us all busy for decades, should we choose to make this our path for walking in a good, right way. Water truly is life. Consider the myriad ways one might support the mother by protecting our waters. If we begin at home with our individual choices about how we use water day to day, that is a good start. How can we enact our love for the waters and Skidkomik by respecting this resource? Bathing, daily tasks in the kitchen, laundry, lawn irrigation, and so forth are all points of behavioral change that matter. A dear friend once explained to me how water use became a bone of contention with her spouse, since he chose to run the water when he was rinsing the dishes. And she told me she never stopped reminding him to change that practice. She shared this little story with a fervent voice that reflected a deep sense of purpose, and that's why I still remember it. When we choose respect, when we choose not to waste, we are choosing love. all the nonprofit donations in the world will not save the mother if we do not choose to walk in a better way. How can we share this teaching and this reverence and love with our children? I do lots of work in public schools, and I often wonder how these values are fostered among children and youth. I will say here that assigning a book report on climate change will have far less impact than reminding children of the sanctity of water and encouraging respectful behaviors and teaching the necessity of stewardship. I remember putting the kibosh on too frequent baths when we were raising children. The shower's more efficient, probably not as delightful. We must also learn, though, that the senses can be seductive, and chasing after a feeling we seem to get from being wasteful with resources is not always a solution. Always the balance. We need not forego pleasure, but we also need not be enslaved by it. How might we also be active in our love and stewardship of Skid Comique? Maybe there's a local conservation organization that you're interested in supporting through skill sharing, volunteer opportunities related to water quality monitoring, maybe a coastal cleanup. I know someone who always takes a trash bag with them when they hike to remove litter. And another friend who paddled the Sebago Lake watershed with colleagues and made a lovely film about it to share with the public. All these things are the embodiment of walking in a good, right way. Most of us don't have the financial resources to make huge donations to groups and organizations engaged in environmental work, and I dare say that these kinds of support are often given more profile and respect than the simple local and regional activities that occur all across Maine and beyond. Laws and publicity alone will not save our natural systems and all our relations. What is needed is a new beginning that signals a change in behavior for our human family. And that must occur at home and in the community. Another example of difference in how nature is viewed might be what I call Tree Nation. Consider that Maine is known, quite literally famous, for its logging industry. It began in the early 1600s and continued right up to the 20th century. First was the immediate felling and extraction of the oldest and tallest white pines for ship masts. The king's mark was placed on these mighty trees, and no one could take them, since they were reserved for the English crown. In fact, the king's mark was a major contributor to the Revolutionary War, in that settlers were very angry about the restrictions and penalties for taking these trees. This period in Maine history also gave rise to timber barons such as Thomas Ruggles and George Tate, who made their fortune on the mast trade. The logging industry was incredibly lucrative. And later, with industrialization, came the paper industry, which led to even more damming of waterways for hydropower and the deadly effluent that flowed into Maine rivers. What do we know now about trees? They sequester carbon. They mitigate heat that continues to mark climate change. They help regulate the temperature of soil and protect many organisms. Their root systems also intertwine with mycorrhizal fungal systems, and that allows them to literally communicate. Tree Nation is happiest and healthiest in company with others of its kind, much like our human family. A tree is home to a vast number of fauna, such as bats and birds, small mammals, insects. Many are also pollinators. Trees deserve respect and protection. The first water-powered sawmill was built in Maine in 1634. Log drives on Maine rivers were lucrative employment opportunities, but also they were discontinued finally due to the harm that they caused river ecologies. The last official one took place in 1976, not so long ago. And in many main rivers, one must navigate outboards carefully to avoid deadheads, the half-sunken logs that remain. Green space in urban and densely populated communities plays a critical role in helping to offset seasonal flooding. It provides pocket ecologies so that birds and small mammals and insects can survive in our altered landscapes. We, as humans, understand that recreation in nature is also important for us. The mother is soothing, and this lessens modern-day stresses, and it can support better human health. When we are recreating in green spaces, let us remember that these places serve many purposes and support many forms of life. How can we walk in a good, right way with Tree Nation? We can try and allow our tree cousins to live on our property. Plant trees that belong here. Native plants are critical to supporting the wildlife that needs those trees to survive. You can educate yourself on who you're sharing the space with as you go about your daily tasks in life. Educate the young on being respectful and loving to our trees, not as behaving in a good or bad way, but because trees give life, shelter life, and protect life. A child being taught by my traditional grandfather was, take only what you need. This way of being in the world, of being with the mother, is quite different from the European perspective of land and water as resource, and hence as commodity. The systematic extraction of resources in the Americas led eventually to conflict and all-out war. With England first and then the French, ongoing conflict with Maine's indigenous peoples. The notion that the mother provides water, food, medicine, and shelter must be protected so that she can continue to thrive. And that's a very different notion than a notion of commerce and money as markers of societal status. Wealth for us is having what you need and perhaps a bit more that you can share with someone who has less. Not an accumulation of things. And perhaps it's time to return to a better balance and a more loving relationship to Skidkamik so that she can heal and be here for all her glory, for our children and our grandchildren when we've walked on. Love is a way of being in the world, not an abstract idea of feeling and emotion. The Creator, whom we call Ngichi Nweskamun, made us emotional beings, not only to love one another, but also to love Skidkamik, who supports life for ourselves and all our relations. When we each strive to walk in a good, right way, with respect for the mother and our human family, we're practicing love in action. And this, in turn, is an embodiment of purpose and gratitude for the gift that we have all been given. Nitemsel.
Now is the time in our service when we receive your offerings to support the work of the church. Each month, all non-pledge cash offerings are shared with the charity of the month. And somewhere here it tells me, yes, this month's charity is the Four Directions Development Corporation. Please give as generously as you are able. Will you please join me in the congregational response? May these offerings sustain and grow the work of this church, weaving a tapestry of love and action. Thank you.
This little song I will share with you now is actually a prayer that was written by Dwayne Thoma. And before I sing it, I'll translate it for you. Thank you, our great Spirit, Creator, for giving us another day of life and for giving us such a beautiful place to live. This is called the Dawn Land. Help us, Creator, to love and try to help everyone, and also to remember the ones that went ahead of us. In gratitude. Wuliwan gichin weskaman, milinenap spem giskak pamausuwagan. Naga milinene duchi walana kwake guldiek. You deliwitazik, Jakwabanakik, Jakwabanakik. Wijuka minne, Gichine Weskamon. Pside wen gazelmanen, Naga and a gwechi wijukamanen. Nemiquidamanukana, Elaminikane awoltitit. Wuli one, Gichine Weskimon. Wuli one, Gichine Weskimon. Always, always remember that we're stronger together. As members of the human family, we create the world we desire through our thoughts and actions and relationships. The power for change resides not only with Creator and Mother Earth, but also within us. Each morning is a new opportunity to walk in a good, right way.
Good morning. My name is Stephen Majersic. I use the pronouns he and him, and I have several opportunities and invitations for engagement to tell you about. On Saturday, October 25th, our minister, Reverend Dr. Karma Amos, and our Director of Lifelong Spiritual Formation, Tobin Cooney Callan, will be leading a Circle of Connection experiential workshop from 9 to 11 a.m. in the Mary Meeting Bay room. One of the ways we can cultivate compassion, our theme of reflection this month, is by actively working to build community across differences. In this 2-hour workshop, we'll explore why making connections with others is such a vital spiritual practice, and we will experience some ways to discover and build on the foundation of the commonalities we already share. Registration appreciated, but not required. You can email Tobin at lsf-director@UU Brunswick for registration details or get more information. And I have a Warming Center update. Working for Justice wants to thank all of you who have so generously contributed to the Warming Center's request for donated items. Your donations help make it possible for the Warming Center for the first time to provide a warm and safe space for the homeless to sleep overnight during the cold winter months. During the short time since you were first asked, you have committed to supplying nearly all of the needed items. If you haven't yet made a donation and would still like to, we are now asking for monetary donations. Please write a check made out to UUCB indicating it is for the Warming Center and give it to Shirley in her office. Bring your items to the church as soon as possible and no later than October 26th. And if anyone has lost track of what you signed up for, contact Jill Scherer. You can find Jill's contact information in the church directory, in Friday's happenings at UUCB, or at the table in the back of the sanctuary. And finally, save the date for the holiday fair, which is Saturday, December 6th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Our sign-up sheets will be out after church on Sundays beginning on November 9th. We invite you to volunteer and help cook, greet, sell, make crafts, serve food, organize the white elephant, which is a lot of fun, I have to tell you. Set up, clean up, and more. Small jobs, big jobs, and lots of fun jobs need to be done. Join us for this wonderful community fundraiser. See Joanne Allen and Cuffy Chase for more information. Please greet your neighbor.